Top 10 scams in modern history. In current day and age, as the society progresses, cyber criminals are seen to be too, ripping off naive, unsuspecting victims in now a rather commonly performed activity, considering the complaints of internet crimes going up by a whopping 17% from the year 2017 to 18. Internet clearly isn't a safe space for everyone. Crimes in collaboration to it range from misleading pop-up ads leading with malware to professionally portrayed emails tricking the live into handing out their personal financial information. The game plan remains the same for all, typically financial gain for the fraudster. Criminals have performed the skill of defying the law, devising more than a handful of strategies and techniques to deceive the credulous and impressionable people on the web. However, crimes performed in modern history aren't just restricted to the internet. This article provides an elaborate list of the top 10 worth to be remembered crimes performed in the modern history. Number 1. Enron's bankruptcy. Enron was considerably the best energy providing company in the year 2000. Vital utilities like power or electricity should never be put in the hands of unaccountable private companies. Rather, be governmentally managed to provide resources fully before seeking profit and revenue. The three main characters who served to be the catalyst for the fraud were Kennedy, Jeff Skilling, and Andy Foster. It's quite amazing to view how the group transformed from eager to dedicated businessmen to outright frauds in the period of just 4 years. The company came into being when Kenneth Clay decided to conjoin two energy companies, Internorth and Houston Natural Gas, in the year 1985. Upon hiring an elaborate hand-picked group of executives, Enron had decided upon defrauding the nation with its poor financial reporting and implying special-purpose entities for preventing the large sums of losses from dwindled deals and projects. This had caused the firm's financial statements to appear confusing and misleading to Enron's shareholders and analysts. In addition to the electrical provision, Jeffrey Skilling, former consultant of Enron and then promoted as a chief operating officer, worked in expanding the firm as a natural gas provider. That wasn't possible. However, Skilling was successful at serving to be a trader of natural gas, acting as an intermediary between the producers and the consumers. Enron filed for bankruptcy protection by December of 2001. The damage of the firm's reputation being so severe that it concluded to dissolve itself. Skilling was convicted in May of 2006, where he was sentenced to over 24 years in the prison due on the charges misdemeanor, fraud, and leading a conspiracy to defraud Enron's. Number 2. The Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy in 2008. The year of subprime mortgage crisis, the global financial services firm was founded in 1847. Being the fourth largest investment bank in the New York, United States, it was operational for 158 years since 1847 until 2008, when it filed for bankruptcy protection after its involvement in using cosmetic accounting gimmicks. At the end of each year, the company was known to use a high leverage business model, requiring it to invest in high-risk real estate and subprime mortgages. In 2006, by 2008, the bank had $639 million in assets that were quite hard to sell, causing the bank to remain in a $613 billion debt. Between the year 2000 and 2006, the bank had managed to grow its revenue by up to 130%. The Exchange Commission and other regulators refused to take any action against it. A bankruptcy examiner report concluded to multiple accusations of fraud against the firm's auditors and executives. However, no such legal action was taken against either of the participants by the authorities. Number 3. Cendant. With a somewhat similar history to that of Enron's, Cendant was formed by merging two companies, CUC International and Hospitality Franchise Services, in 1997. Although each of the companies were known to produce a significant amount of revenue before the merge, CUC International was known to use dubious accounting practices to inflate their earnings. The merger didn't put a pause to this. CUC, led by Walter Forbes, took over Cendant's accounting management and continued these practices as a contribution to the corporation. After the companies conjoined, Cendant stock price shoot up to a significant extent. However, In 1998, the companies came forward about the merged reserves being overstated and aggressive revenue recognition was being used. In accordance to the auditor's report, this contributed to the sudden drop in Cendant's stock price. That was from $39 to $9 per share, causing the company's market capitalization to reduce by $14 million in a single day. This scam was estimated to cost the investors a whopping $19 billion. Walter Forbes, the chairman of the CUC, was sentenced to 12 years and 7 months in prison. Number 4. The WorldCom scandal. Led by founder and CEO Bernard Evers from 1999 to 2002, the senior executives at WorldCom were ordered to use a scheme for the portrayal of inflated earnings in order to maintain their stock price. Also known as the US's second largest long-distance telephone company for its time, had the fraud uncovered by their internal auditor Cynthia Cooper, who found over 3.8 billion of fraudulent data sheet entries. WorldCom took in billions of dollars as operating expenses and divided them into multiple properties accounts all across the country. This, as a result, caused a massive change in the company's revenue, stating at 1.4 billion profit by 2001 instead of losses. Upon Cynthia bringing light onto company's suspicious accounting practices, WorldCom confessed to $4 billion in accounting fraud and filed the bankruptcy protection a month later. In July 2002, the main participants to the crime, Evers and Sullivan, were each convicted. Evers was sentenced to 25 years in prison and Sullivan to be imprisoned for 7 years after he pledged guilty. Number 5. Health South scandal. One of the United States' largest operated chain of rehabilitation centers, South Health was formed in the year 1996, being the USA's first national chain of mainly orthopedic hospitals but 2 outpatient clinics. Potentially driven by the urge to meet with the analyst expectations, the hospital quickly restored to performing dirtiest practices ranging from overloading fixed assets, overestimating insurance reimbursements, improperly capitalization expenses, and to even using faulty reserve accounts to conceal all the shady activities. The CEO of Health South, Richard M. Scrushy, was held accountable for overstating the hospital earnings by up to $1.4 billion in a period of 4 years. The executives were all concluded to have committed a $2.8 billion fraud and were each convicted and sentenced separately, while Scrushy was charged for bribing the Alabama's governor in order to keep him silent. Number 6. Tyco International. Tyco International was a security system company founded in the Republic of Ireland. The firm was divided into 2 segments: fire protection and security solutions. The 2002 scandal refers to the CEO and chairman Dennis Kozlowski, a former corporate chief financial officer Mark Schwartz, stealing as much as $600 million from the firm and denying all accusations later. This caused a mistrial. The 2 were accused of selling the company's stock without any consultations and giving themselves interest-free loans that were again never approved or consulted with the Tyco board. Neither were they repaid. In the early 2005, Kozlowski and Schwartz were concluded guilty of abusing an employee loan program, taking bonuses worth more than $120 million without the approval of Tyco's directors, selling $575 million and misrepresenting the company's financial condition to investors to boost the stock price. They were both sentenced to over 25 years in prison, and in 2004, Kozlowski was granted parole. Number 7. ZZZZ Best. Founded by Barry Minko in 1986, Best was initially a carpet cleaning and restoration company. The company valued over $300 million, however, went bankrupt in first 7 months of its coming into being. In order to portray his company to be a source of profitable investment, Minko resorted to committing various illegal acts, including check kiting, theft, insurance scam, and fraud. The company, while in its prime, was involved in a fraudulent credit card scheme for over $70,000. However, Minko managed to pay it all back. About a year later, Minko was found guilty on all charges and was sentenced to 25 years in prison and was forfeited to pay over $26 million in restitution. After his early release, Minko made his way back up and became an ordained minister while serving as a pastor of a church in California. However, in 2011, he was convicted of fraud, once again for defrauding his church, and was sentenced 10 years in prison with an addition to his restitution balance. Number 8. Sentinel Technologies. The company went public in 1994 and once considered a Wall Street darling. Sentinel Technologies integrated patent and property technology into application-specific cards for commercial, industrial, and military markets. Founded by Emmanuel Pinnes, the company had recorded of the firm making $2 million in revenue of the sales of PC cards. Pinnes was accused of making off the decline of the company by buying put options and scaling call options as stock. This had caused the board of directors to fire him from his own company in 1997. In March 2000, Pinnes was assigned a 5-year prison sentence and was ordered to pay $150 million in restitution. The chaos among the company had caused the Sentinel's stock to be delisted and profit was visibly seen to have been wiped out. Number 9. Bre-X Minerals. Bre-X Minerals Limited was involved in a major gold mining scandal when it reported it was sitting on an enormous gold deposit at Busang, Indonesia. Founded in 1989, the company's Indonesian gold property was reported to contain more than 200 million ounces and was declared to be the richest gold mine ever. The stock price of the firm practically skyrocketed to $280 and had a market capitalization of $4.4 billion. However, by the end of 1997, the gold mine was proven to be as unreal as it sounded to the public when it was first heard about. The scam is now under criminal investigation in Canada and Indonesia, with a progressive growing file of suit places against the company. People are yet to be charged for the crimes. However, no one yet has been identified as a suspect. The stock of the company is now worthless, but massively impacted the analysts and investors. The losses that were concluded to be greatest among all included of $70 million from the Quebec public sector prison fund. Number 10. Bernard Madoff. Bernard Lawrence Madoff, an American fraudster and financier, ran the largest Ponzi scheme that was worth about $64.8 billion. Madoff built his reputation by his trade in securities. However, he was later in the year 2008 upon the cash of the company exposed to be running an elaborated Ponzi scheme. His way of business was claiming to have steady and double-digit returns to his customers, and being the man of his word, he was committed to it. Only if they knew that behind closed doors, Bernie was actually using cash from new investors to pay back money to the older ones. Madoff had pledged guilty in March 2009 to securities fraud and various other charges. He was reported to have said that he was deeply sorry and ashamed for what he had done. After spending multiple months confined to house arrest at his $7 million penthouse apartment, Bernie was led off to jail in handcuffs, with a round of applause heard from angry investors in the courtroom.